Good morning, Internet. It's your boy Rob Cruz. We are here at the Kauai Food Forests, 8 years in, and we're going to take you on a little walk and show you what's happening, what's growing, what has progressed. So this is the start, this is the front, this is the front section. This little section right in here is my little laboratory inside my bigger laboratory. This is my desk, I guess you would say. So I kind of put things in here and I'm able to keep a good eye on them. Oh, my lilies are coming back. Great. So I have some tiger lilies in there that I thought were gone. Tamarillo, some chilies that I brought back from Florida, some direct-seeded papayas, direct-seeded cacao, some Ethiopian cardamom. Let's go check out that. It has a beautiful kind of holiday smell. It kind of smells of spice, nutmeg, cinnamon. The flowers are just coming on some of the other plants, and this was a surprise for us. I don't think I've ever ran across this plant, and it's really quite special. We have some other stuff in here that's pretty interesting. This one's called Patchouli. Maybe some of your hippie moms and dads might have known about this one. I definitely liberated this one out of a botanical garden, and you don't find this around really very often. This is what they make, like I guess essences, oils out of this. I just like to kind of keep them in my pocket, and it helps me smell better in the day. And it stays in flower, really cute little bush, and perennial. And it's right here underneath the cacao. This cacao is doing amazing. And the guild's really tightly, densely packed in here. We got chilies, coleus. This is a big malanga that keeps on coming back. It's like a taro, elephant ear relative. We're also putting in a lot of ferns. I'm big on ferns. Ferns are the final ground layer succession in the forest. And if we could think about that when we're planting our trees and get our fern layers in the beginning, they're going to be there in the end once all the light stops coming in. So the fern layer is very important, and we're just kind of learning who we want to play with now as we are starting to get a little bit more mature in our food forest system. So this part of the forest is looking really good. We got some Volunteer Suspania sesbins in here. We're adding our lines in here, making sure our comfrey lines are, because that helps us keep everything at bay. I know you guys have probably heard me talk about this at this point. So this little section, we're starting to put some more long-lived annual / perennials in here. We just planted up some eggplant and some Italian basils. This spot is really sunny. Our pathway was a little bit bigger than we needed, so we started bulging out the edges, and we're starting to make a little bit more of a kind of garden settings inside the forest now, since the whole thing's being held down. So this is in row 2. This is a row of Jabote Cabas we have right here. I think we have 3 of them in a row, and then 1 more way down the line. And we just planted a line of kava back here. Paul has a really extensive kava collection that we've been growing up. We have some cacaos that are just crushing it. We have an eggplant behind me, cabaluda behind me, and inside here, inside the floor, we're starting to develop kind of our ground cover system. We use the sishu spinach as the ground cover, and then we grow a huge amounts of this coleus. The coleus will get about this high, and then we just fold it down, and we walk on it. And then the sishu underneath will grow up, and the coleus will be its first layer of mulch. So it's a good way for us to be able to hold it all down and be able to control the space with very minimal effort. So this is our little, I would consider our legacy gardens inside of our food forest. When all the crazy started to shake everybody's world, I asked myself 3 questions. I was like, all right, we need to plant a huge amount of food. Where's our fertility? Where's our sunlight? And what parts of the garden do we have under complete control so we can garden inside this forest and not have the forest eat our gardens? Because we're in the tropics have teeth, that is the jungle. And so we started making all these teepees. Underneath our teepees, we started growing all kinds of vines, that was going to give us vertical space and give us production really fast, so we can feed a lot of people fast, and that was our intention. And we were very much inspired by our boy Ben and the teepees that he built here. So let me share with you guys what we did. So this is Ben's teepee, and it has been a big inspiration for us here. I feel this project gives an opportunity for people to express their creativity and their art in a very much a living, functional fashion. And Ben and Andy made this teepee in a matter of a weekend, and it's all made from bamboo that's sourced right here. And we have all kinds of stuff growing on it now. We have chayotes and wing beans and Malabar spinach. We actually have a fluted pumpkin on there from our boy Coconut Chris. Cheer, thank you, Chris. This is a very rare plant for us. I don't think anybody's even growing it here. So this garden, we had a really good edge of comfrey, and what we were able to do is kind of pull out the center and push it out to the edges. And then we started to bring in these teepees, and we made about 5-6 teepees in this little section, and we started to plant heavily dense plants that are just going to crush it. These are edible gourds and chayote and tomatoes and cucumbers. And then inside of here we're putting in, this is Portuguese cabbage, a perennial, brassica, and chilies, and some different kinds of perennial bush basils in here. Wing beans are crushing it. And then also daikon. Daikon's another one that's really underutilized for us, and provides a huge amounts of space filler, a big taproot that is a soil builder and a great food for all kinds of salads and for pickling. So daikon, man, completely underutilized. Thank you for breeding that beast out for us. So this is a very special tree for me. We planted this one in honor of Bill Mollison's passing. He's a legend in our world. He's the founder of Permaculture and has been a big inspiration of my life. And there was a tree planting campaign when he passed, so we planted this one in his honor. And when we planted it, I came to the realization I have to do it correctly. I'm like, how would Bill do it? I have to do it as he would want it. So I collected all I could as far as different plants, and I tried to make a really good guild that Bill would approve of. And this planting changed the whole forest, because after we did this one and I put in the comfreys and the ferns and the coleus and the everything that I put in there, and it came out so good that I turned around at the rest of the forest and said, shit, we gotta do the rest of it like this now. So this was like a little petri dish that was inspired by Bill's passing, that helped us refine our system to do it as he would do it. What we have here is kind of a planting that was inspired by Ernst Grosch's Entropic Farming, and this is kind of our take on it and our spin on it. What we have here is a line of Cispania grandiflora, and then we have our edges all in comfrey, coleus, and then inside of here we also have our African bush basil, bam, right here. We also have mamaki that is planted in here and is doing really well. Mamaki is a native nettle, and it's kind of fussy, but Paul's been knocking it out, and with the proper microclimates, it's doing really well. And after we had this whole thing planted out, our boy Oliver Cohen was like, I got some seeds for you guys. And what we were able to do is we direct seeded a whole bunch of chompadecs in, and chompadecs are a relative of the jackfruit, but just way better. And I am kind of banking on these things being a new crop here for our island. And these are the chompadecs. And this one's a little bit smaller. Some of them are already bigger than I am. And since we are able to direct seed these, our hypothesis is that the root systems will be much more intact and stronger. And these plants will be able to outperform plants that were potted up and have had disturbed root systems. So this is the way that we would like to move forward, build the microclimate, and be able to put the climax species in direct seeded, so you get a really strong taproot. That's the way. Craig Elovich and Neil Young came over here and hosted a Entropic Agroforestry workshop, and this was the second day of the workshop. Everybody came to our forest and and planted this beautiful example of agricultural systems. And this is a mix between the Entropic style and our food forest style. And we just had a nice little mow, and I started doing some chopping, so actually you could see two different parts of it. The overstory right now is Suspania sesbin, and underneath there we have a whole bunch of plants. We have a lot of kalo, we have ava, and some different kinds of cacao relatives. And these are all very, very tightly packed in. And this is kind of a nucleus of life. There is layers and layers and layers of biomass and layers of support species that are systematically cut and folded in on each other. So whenever you're actually trying to build soil, you're not running across the forest and grabbing trees and grabbing biomass for the soil. It's all right there where you need it, and you just kind of are able to fold it in on top of itself. And the life inside of this is ridiculous. The only catch is you got to be ready to take care of it. This is a creation of a lot of life, and if you don't manage it, if you don't steward it, it will run you over and turn into a big mess. So this is a big wave. You just got to be able to ride it. There's a lot of energy inside of this thing. I want to give you guys my view in here. It is ridiculous. Underneath here we have little baby coffees, and we have a lot of life coming. This whole thing is lined in logs that were sourced right here from trees that we chopped down together. We have Suspania grandiflora in here, and then some of our usual suspects for our support plants. But this is a whole nother world. This is a tiny microcosm of an ecosystem that we created in a day's work. There was a lot of hands and a lot of biomass was moved, but the fertility is here now. And it's our responsibility now to be able to keep cycling it so all the trees have the ability to express what they are trying to express, and they're also getting cut out when it's time for them to be cut out. So there's room and space for the ones that we're trying to hold on to. But the fertility factor is ridiculous. Look at the size of these taro in here. Is that not impressive? It impresses me. That's freaking gorgeous. What I'd like to share with you guys right here is some of our soil building techniques. This is a little coffee, and what I want to share with you is the color profile of the soil right here next to the coffee, which is very much, check out my hand, that's the color of our soil, right? Well, right next to it, you can see where we've been just piling our comfrey, and this is what's happening. Do you see the difference? This was made right here on site, right next to the plants that we're trying to feed it to. So when this is put on the soil around my plants will be able to take in these minerals. Look at the size, look at that slime. All right, guys, go back to bed, go do your work. You guys got soil to build. These two plants are working really well together. This is Coleandra, which is this gorgeous flowering nitrogen fixer right here. It has a really great shape to it. It's kind of archy, I guess if that's a word. It's also a cartoon character. And then also, this is giant passion fruit. Look at the size of these fruits. There's a whole bunch of them in here. And the flowers are ridiculous. Hold on, first off, these fruit are probably one of my favorite fruit. There's like a quart of passion fruit goodness inside of there. And it's on par with our Jamaican liqueurs, which are watermelon, passion fruit. And look at these flowers. Now they make teas out of these, they eat them. I just gonna give them to my beautiful wifey right here. So what I would like to share with you guys right here is a little success story that I want to pass on to you guys so you guys can have better successes than we've had in our learning experience here. And this is, if we were able to do the whole system again, which I would expect we're going to do a whole bunch more in the future because this shit just got really relevant. This is the combination I would use for our ground cover. And this is perennial peanut, which is a great nitrogen fixing ground cover. It's really coveted in the permaculture world if you're into it as heavily as we are, and it makes a cute little flower. And then this is Sishu spinach. This is one of our main ground covers now. These two plants in combination could make you a mow-less system, and that right now is a big deal. So these are great ground covers, smothering plants, and together you get benefits of both worlds. This one's edible, this one's a nitrogen fixer, and when they grow together, they're not going to let any light penetrate, and they're going to help really keep the other plants at bay and give you an opportunity to work on your overstory instead of working on keeping your understory getting engulfed by weeds. These guys. Thank you guys for joining us. We hope you guys found all this information very valuable. It's a pleasure to be able to share what we've created together here at the Kauai Food Forest. This has been a huge collaboration between many people, and I am just here as the messenger to help relay what we've learned. So let's keep the information flowing, let's keep the conversation going, and yeah, keep growing.